Hello, everyone. It is my absolute pleasure to be a part of this wonderful summit. My name is Kavita Srinivasan. Through my life and my experiences, I know that when you want to heal people, it has to come from a deep place. And Kat Miller, who I have the pleasure of speaking to today, is one such lady. So, who is Kat Miller? She is the founder of the Blue Iris Learning Center. Kat Miller brings a new level of understanding to switch words. What are switch words? Switch words are one word affirmations that help restore emotional, physical, and life balance. Skillful use of these words helps you manifest everything at a physical, mental, and spiritual level. Kat is a natural healthcare practitioner who specializes in energy healing using her own unique techniques. She's also the original source of diffusing words, which help diffuse negative emotional states. Blue Learning Center is the original source of energy circles, a self-help tool for automating the use of switch words, diffusing words, and healing numbers. So without further ado, let me welcome Kat Miller. Hi, Kat.
Hi, Kavita, and thank you so much for having me here. I love working with these tools with switch words and all of that, and it is such a pleasure to have this interaction with you and be able to share this wider with additional people. So thank you.
Thank you. So before let's get started, I can you tell us a little bit about how you actually got onto this journey? How did you begin this healing journey?
Well, my daughter had severe allergies in the early 2000s. And when I found that the conventional medicine didn't have tools to help her, I wound up going to a naturopath who works with total body modification and natural healing. And he helped to clear those allergies in a matter of moments. And that kind of turned me upside down because at the time I was a medical transcriptionist and everything I knew suddenly was not what I knew. And that began me down an energy healing path, which eventually took me to switch words. In 2007, I was working with energy vials that I've developed through the years. And the particular vial that I was working with was the emotional freedom vial. And a friend came to me and said, Kat, here's a book for you to read. And it was Shanyam Nirov's book, Switch Words, Easily Give to You Whatever You Want in Life. And that book was my introduction to switch words. At the time, it was just an electronic book, and you could read the first, I think it was 43 pages, and then you had to pay to read the rest. After reading the first several pages, I realized this was something that could be added into my vial work, the energy work that I do, and I bought the book. And the rest is history. I came into the switch words. Nirov had set up a group that was on Yahoo for switch words. Mm-hmm. And I came in there and I almost immediately was giving people advice on use of switch words, how to work with them. And as such, within a couple of months, I was a moderator at the group. And then unfortunately, at the time that I came in, Nirov was on his way out. He had a rectal cancer and he died just about a year after I came into Switch Words. And at that point, I took over his group. And then eventually when Yahoo went kind of odd, I guess, difficult to work with when they sold out, I came to Facebook. And then at Facebook, I just exploded Switch Words. And now you can trace almost all sources of switch words back to Blue Iris Learning Center, which I had already set up prior to coming into Facebook with the switch words. But that's my trip into switch words. And the original source of switch words is The Secret of Perfect Living, a book that was written by James T. Mangan, first published back in 1963. And Nirav had bought that book at a yard sale in the 70s, and he had been using it for 30 years when he wrote his book, because he was afraid, since at that time Mangan's book was out of print, he was afraid that we would lose the technology. And so we are deeply, deeply indebted to both James T. Mangan and Shanyam Nirav for the switch words as they came to us. At the time I came into switch words, we had 100 switch words that the two of them had defined for us. And since then, I have gone through with many, many friends, and we've discovered many more switch words. At this point in time, I think we have around 400 switch words available. And they're very, very simple to use. Each one represents a condition, response, or experience you would like to have. Mm-hmm. So you say the switch word, and it's almost like magic. Whatever it represents begins to come to you for manifestation.
Wow. So can you give me an example of that?
I'll tell you.
How does this work? This is just new to me. So how does it work? So can you give me an example of how you help someone, or a scenario that this was used in?
Okay, let me give you what it is that brought me into switch words.
Okay, great.
Was the switch word reach. With the Emotional Freedom Vial, which is an energy vial that works with your energy for healing and such, there is a file linked to it that the switch word reach, which is about finding solutions, finding whatever it is you're looking for, solutions to problems and such. It encompassed this entire file that I had. And it just blew me away that there was something like that. And reach has been a switch word that has worked amazingly well for everybody. We have many, many stories regarding reach. If you're trying to find something, reach, and you find it. It's just crazy how well it works. Now, as far as it goes, sometimes we combine additional switch words because there's something else that might be blocking. But I want to back up just a little bit here because I kind of got ahead of myself. Mm-hmm. How do switch words become switch words? Well, the other than conscious mind is constantly paying attention to everything that happens 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it is filing every experience, and it is filing like things together. And when you are trying to find something, you are reaching for it. You're reaching for it. You want to find it. You're reaching for it. This is how reach became the switch word for finding what you're looking for finding solutions. You reach into your mind trying to remember something that you know. That's a reach. Another switch word that is very easy to see why it is a switch word is count. Count is about making money. And how did that become a switch word for making money? Well, every single time you come in contact with money, you count. You have money on the counter. You look at it and you start to count it. When you go to a store, you have a very intense interactions with money. First of all, you check to make sure you have enough money for what it is that you are out to buy. Then when you're at the store, as you are gathering the things that you are buying, you're counting how much money it's going to cost you. Then as you check out, the cashier is counting how much money everything costs. And there's a running tally. And then you pay the money for whatever it is that you bought, and you count it out. The cashier counts it, puts it in the drawer. The cashier counts out money to return to you, change to return to you. You count that one. And so you had very intense counting associated with money in your trip to the store. You check your bank account, you're counting. You're looking at money anytime it relates to counting. So that is how count became the switch word for making money. Totally amazing. And if you can look at and see what actions are causing different experiences and recognize that the action is a switch word and start to use the switch word, the body, the other than conscious mind, begins to look for ways to find that experience again, because it's an expected experience. And so switch words are actually working a lot with the law of attraction. The law of attraction, that which is like unto itself is drawn. And so powerful fun working with switch words. And we look deep into the experiences associated with actions, associated with words. And that's how we find switch words. Totally amazing.
Unbelievable how magical it is. So basically switch words are words that are assigned a certain energy, and we, the universe, and the way we look at something gives the switch word that energy. And then when we use the word, it's the energy that has compounded upon that word. Basically, that's what it is.
Pretty much. It's like an underground, as James Mangan told us, it's like you have an underground factory in your mind where all of this stuff is going on. And he called them switch words because you flip a switch and it turns on the factory for whatever that switch word represents. One thing that another switch word that he gave us is off, which is to go to sleep. Now, how could that off be to go to sleep? Mm-hmm. If you pay attention, when you turn off the television, it goes to sleep. Mm-hmm. When you turn off the light, it goes to sleep. So off clearly represents going to sleep. How cool is that?
That's so cool. So say, what about something like you're not well? Maybe you're physically not feeling well, or maybe mentally not well. Maybe you're depressed. What would a switch word for that be?
Okay. When you're not feeling well, when you're feeling sick, alone is your switch word for healing. Now, that's an interesting one because James T. Mangan gave it to us as to heal a scab. Now, if you keep picking at a scab, you delay the healing. When you leave it alone, it heals faster. Now, when Nirav came along, he opened alone up substantially more by simply saying to heal. When you let it go, when you quit paying it attention, you allow it to heal. And
Wow.
so that's why the modern or the current, whatever definition for alone is to heal instead of to heal a scab, because Nirov had the insight to realize that it's not just for healing a scab. He realized that it is for healing, period.
That is amazing. And it makes so much sense, Kat. It makes so much sense because, you know, the lady that I've been working with for myself said that when you're alone, I kept complaining, I feel alone, I feel alone. And she's like, well, alone is all one. You need to be alone. And it is only when you're all one, when you are aligned with yourself, that there's true healing. So look at the magic of this. It's when you're aligned with yourself and you're all one, and you use the word alone. And people usually think alone is a negative word when it's really not.
It's really quite interesting to see the switch words and their meanings, because so very, very often their meaning as a switch word has nothing to do with the dictionary meaning. I mean, just looking at count, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're whatever. That doesn't seem to have anything to do with money, yet the switch words definition is about making money. It's also about quitting smoking, because when you are looking to quit smoking, you start counting how many cigarettes you're smoking. And that helps to limit. That's what you're doing to help limit yourself from taking on. And so it's about reducing and quitting smoking. So that's kind of interesting. And there are many switch words that have multiple meanings. And it's interesting to see how the meanings evolve. And at one point back, it was still in 2007 when I had first come into switch words, and we were looking for additional universal switch words, which are basically switch words that work for everybody. I coined 3 terms for switch words. We have the universal switch words, which basically work for everyone. We have the open switch words, which work for most people. And then we have the personal switch words, which work for on an individual basis. Names are very often personal switch words. My husband's name is Joe. Joe is a personal switch word to me because it represents comfort, it represents love, it represents support, it represents everything that my husband is. And so very often the name of a parent, the name of a spouse, the name of someone that you admire is a switch word for you. And it's a personal switch word. We do have on the switch words list a number of names. And the reason is because they represent whatever to a large number of people. For example, James Mangan, when he wrote his book, he told us to find someone who represents a smile to you and use that to dispel hatred. When I came into switch words, I wanted to see if there was a universal smiler that we could use so people didn't have to try and think, well, who would it be? What name would I want to use and whatever? And Mona Lisa came out.
Oh my God.
And so that's why Mona Lisa is the switch word for dispelling the hatred and smiling, is because she is the universal smiler. And we have a few other switch words that are names, and you can always look them up at Blue Iris. I have a quick link to the switch words list at Blue Iris, which is SW as in switch words .blueiris.org. And that gives you a list, a combination list of the universal switch words
Mhm.
and the open switch words. I almost said broad. That's the way I named them first. I first called them broad switch words, but a friend of mine said, I don't like the way that sounds. And we decided to shift it probably 3 or 4 years down the road from when I first introduced broad switch words. We switched it to open. And I like the way
So
that
does this
sounds.
work in different languages as well, Kat? Like, do switch words work? What if your native language is not English? What if it's something else? Then does that still work on you, or are there equivalent switch words in different languages?
Okay. Switch words are very specific. When a different form of the word may not be a switch word, and interpreting a switch word or a word from one language to another, some of the meaning may be different. And in fact, one time a few years ago, I took a couple of switch words and I looked up, I used Google Translate and translated them to another language. And then I translated them back. And the word I started with was nowhere near the word I ended with.
Lost in translation.
Yep. And so what we highly, highly recommend is you use the English switch word. And there is universal knowledge, and there is the availability that the other than conscious mind recognizes it. It really does. We have seen this, people that don't know English, experiencing the power of switch words just by using the English one. So we don't recommend that you try to translate. Instead, use the English word, but you can translate the meanings so that you understand what they are and people can understand what the switch word represents. And so translate the definitions, don't translate the switch words. It's kind of like your Sanskrit. You don't translate Sanskrit, but you know what it means, and you know why you apply it, you know where you apply it. And so think of switch words in a similar manner. They were introduced to us in English. Therefore, and actually there are some switch words that are other languages, just Shanty comes up, that's not English.
Yeah.
But some of the energy, you may not get what it is that you want. And so we keep it at that.
That's a great explanation, because you're right. Things like yoga, Shanti, Guru, these are not technically English words, but everybody uses it because they've understood the energy behind it and what it really means. So yeah, thank you for clarifying that.
Oh, you're certainly welcome. It's just amazing to work with them. And when you do, you look deep into the meaning, you can see why it is a switch word. And the way I work with switch words, the way I discover switch words, the way that we work with learning and finding switch words is a lot different from what James Mangan did and what Shanyan Nirav did. Because I came into switch words from an angle of energy healing work, which uses reflex muscle testing. And I use the reflex muscle testing to lead me, to guide me, to find switch words. And instead of looking at the experience and trying to find the word, we find the words and we look for what does this word represent. a word tests out that it is a switch word, then we go looking to define it. What is it that makes this a switch word? It's really quite fascinating. And originally it was Rhoda in Hyderabad and me. And we were looking at the switch words and finding the switch words.
How do you find them? How do you find them?
A lot of times they just highlight for me or for somebody else. I recall shake. Shake.
Shake.
I was reading an article about pets and animals.
Mm-hmm.
And in this article, it talked about how a dog, a cat, and any animal who comes in contact with people, when they leave, they shake to get rid of the energy, to clear out that. And shake just highlighted for me. So I looked into it, and it did show as being a switch word. I use muscle testing. This is how I do it. Yes, no. Yes, no. And I have training on Blue Iris that shows you how to learn to do reflex muscle testing. Anyway.
Just sorry to interrupt. So you read the word shake and then you tested it on how it felt in your body, because there's a certain technique to do that.
What I did is the muscle testing.
Okay.
Shake highlighted. Is shake a switch word? Is it a switch word that I should define? Okay, let me look. What is it that it represents? And so I'm looking now at the definition. Shake is to release stress, to let go of unwanted energies, and to release negativity. That's what that cat does when it jumps off your lap and it does its shake.
Oh.
It's releasing all of the negative energy it picked up from you. That's why our pets do that. Even a pet bird, if it comes over and touches you and maybe sits on your finger, maybe you touch its head or its feathers or something, when it leaves, it shakes as it steps away from you. And so that is one example of how a switch word came to us.
That's amazing. That's incredible. It's not intuitive at all.
It's absolutely fascinating because they highlight. And there's also a phenomenon that happens a lot of times when there's a shift in your energy. You yawn, or you sigh, or you burp when there's a shift in your energy, very often. And that's something that Rhoda experiences often with words, and she brings them to me and asks, hey, is this a switch word? And if it is, what does it represent and whatever? And we start to look into it. And today, Rhoda came to me and she said, I had a lot of burping associated with sow, S-O-W, as in sowing seeds.
So, okay.
And so she wanted to know if it showed up as a switch word. And in our discussion, this is what came up. Take purposeful, mindful actions today for tomorrow's manifestations. Improve the world around you. Take action to benefit future generations and open opportunities for new growth. Now think about that. You're sowing the seeds today that are going to bring fruition of what it is that you want tomorrow.
Yes.
And I believe we have that fully defined right now. It's about to go up on Blue Iris, but you guys are the first that are seeing it, at least right now in this recording. By the time this goes live, It will have been up for a couple of days, but this is exactly what we do. Rhoda brought that to me. I started to look into it. We had a discussion. We took it to the other moderators in our group. We have a chat that we have with the group moderators from the Switchwords groups. And we introduced it to them to look and see what else came up. And it looks like we're pretty much finalized with it at this point in time.
Amazing.
And it'll probably go up on Blue Iris either later on today or tomorrow, depending upon my time and whatever else happens. And so it's just awesome to watch them come in and to work with them.
Yeah.
And
so how do you work with them? Can you, I know you've worked with thousands of people and helped so many people and healed them. How do you do it? Can you give us an example of like how do you actually work with people with Switchwords?
Well, first of all, Switchwords are simple to use. You can simply say, think, intend, write, whatever. You can put them inside a circle. You can write on a paper a switch word and then put a circle around it. And you don't want to have any breaks in the circle. You can just draw it, right?
Okay.
And what the circle does is it intensifies it. It makes it important. You know how when you have something that is important, you circle it, you highlight it, you do something to make it stand out.
Yeah.
That's what those circles are about. And as long as it's unimpeded, written in a circle, kind of like this,
okay,
you are broadcasting it to the space where it is. And I actually began using Switchwords to charge water long before I knew anything about Switchwords. Now, isn't that interesting?
That's amazing. So you talk to the water to change its vibration before you drink it.
You can talk to it. You can do what I said about the energy circle. Just set the water right on top of it.
Oh, wow.
Give it at least 15 seconds to absorb whatever is inside the energy circle. And it doesn't have to, the glass doesn't have to completely be covering the words. It doesn't have to completely be inside the energy circle. It can. And the power with the circles is that it concentrates and brings it all there, even if the glass isn't completely covering, it's still bringing it all up there. If you write Switchwords on the glass, just love, then it's putting that energy directly into the water.
So how do you protect yourself? For example, if you want to protect yourself from, I don't know, physical illness, what would you write on the bottle?
Guard.
Guard. Okay.
Guard is a switch word for protection. Let me look up guard here real quick. Guard is, come on, Cat. Protection of body, spirit, or property, and preserve personal safety. So you have guard. You can do that. And you can just write it. And this is a fascinating experience. I was at a family party, and my niece, I wanted to show her what the Switchwords could do. And actually, I think it was before I met Switchwords. So maybe I can back up a little bit and tell you my first experiences with Switchwords before I knew they were Switchwords.
Yes.
How cool. It was 2003 that I was introduced to Dr. Emoto's Miracle Messages from Water. And he had said that you could take and you could write things on a label, put it facing the water and freeze it. And then you could see the crystals from the water. And it would make beautiful crystals and such. And I thought that was really quite fascinating. He wrote love, and he wrote thanks, and he wrote all kinds of different things. And he even wrote negative things, and saw that the very negative wouldn't even crystallize. And I thought that was really quite fascinating. And
The
so
water
I
would not
started,
absorb the negative energy. The
right,
water.
right. What if you look at messages from waters, I think there was that I hate you that he had done, and it wouldn't crystallize. And there was an Adolf Hitler one that was really, really, it was brown and ugly, and it didn't crystallize. It was just really something else to see what it was that was happening with these. And so I started writing the thanks and the love and such on my water. And this was back in 2003. So I was at this family party, and I took one of my nieces. She was probably about 12 years old at the time. And I wanted to show her what happened with the water. And anybody can do this. And it shows you the power of the word.
Wow.
I had her get me a glass of water that was unfiltered water, so straight from the municipality. And then I had her taste it. And she was, yuck, right? So then I took the glass and I just wrote love with my finger on it. I gave it back to her.
After 15
She
minutes.
tasted it.
After 15 minutes.
No.
Right away.
I just wrote it. And it immediately did that. The 15 seconds is for the broadcast, and for the 15 seconds is for broadcast, and it's for inserting all of the information inside that energy circle in. And so just writing the switch words, it's instantaneous. And that's something that Dr. Emoto never recognized, didn't realize, because he would always freeze the water for 24 hours before he would check the crystals. We saw that it was immediate. And he thought that you had to face the label in so that the water could read the words. No. You don't have to do that. You can, if you want to put a label that has love, thanks, whatever switch word on it, and have it facing out, that's okay. It's in the energy field of the water. We found that it works just fine either way. Some people believe you really have to have it facing the water to have it work. No, you don't. Anyway, when my niece tasted that water, her eyes just got giant, and she's, what did you do?
I want to do this now.
And so I told her, and she started writing love. I once was way back in the early, mid, whatever, 2000s. I was on TalkShoe doing talkcasts, and I stepped into somebody else's talkcast. And at some point I started talking a little bit, and I said something about that. And there was one of the listeners there who scoffed. And he had a bottle of water, and he wrote love on it with his finger. And he's like, I don't know that I taste any difference. And then he took and he wrote hate on the bottle. And then he tasted it. And he said, well, that's not bad. And then he's, ow.
Really?
It's burning my throat. And within a couple of minutes, he was like, I'm sorry, I got to leave. I got to get rid of this bottle of water. I said, just erase it. Take your hand and rub it across and erase it and write love again, and you're good. And so he did that, and he did drink the rest of the water. But that's how powerful your words are.
I need to try this right now. As soon as I get off the phone with you, or get off this interview, or I actually want to do it now. You're making me want to do it now.
It's just fascinating to see the power of the word.
Okay, can I do it now? I just want to.
Yes, go. You go right ahead. Taste the water.
This is
See how it
without
tastes.
anything.
Taste it. Hold it in your mouth for a second. See how it feels, how it tastes. Now take and below the level where the water is, right, love, with just your finger.
Just my finger.
You can just use your finger. Taste it. Now, do something else. Write thanks. Add thanks to the love and taste it again.
This is not
What do you see?
crazy.
Isn't that amazing?
No, it is crazy.
You
I'm sorry, I'm not crazy in that way. It's just wonderful.
yeah.
So the first sip.
Yeah. It
was
gets a
like
lighter,
sweet.
crisper taste to it.
The copper
And the thanks even changes it more, doesn't it?
It does. So it's a copper bottle. So the water was coppery in the first sip. But with the love, it became almost sweet. And with the thanks, it became even sweeter.
Isn't that awesome?
I mean, wow.
You are 70% water.
I know.
So think about the words that you are using.
Yes.
Because the water inside you is hearing it. Crazy, huh?
Powerful, so powerful. So what would you do for somebody who, because you have diffusing words as well, right? Where you remove the negative.
Yeah, the diffusing words. This was interesting because Rhoda, she's a little ferret. She loves to dig. And there's a Hawaiian healing technique called Ho'oponopono.
I love it.
And that technique utilizes, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you, to help dissipate and clear things, emotional things. And they also have what they call cleaning tools that are words that you can repeat and whatever as cleaning tools. And Dewdrop is one of those. Words. And there are a number of words that they have in the Ho'oponopono. And Rhoda wanted to know, are these switch words? And I was getting that, no, they're not switch words, but there's something about them. And as we began to look into it, we realized that what they're doing is they're diffusing emotional states, negative emotional states. And that's where the name diffusing word came from, is that they're diffusing. Now, a lot of people will misunderstand and they'll call it diffusing, D-I-F-F-U-S. Well, when you diffuse something, you're spreading it. No. These are defusing. They diffuse the situation. They let it go. They stop it. They drop it. They clear it. And so that was, Dewdrop was one of the first defusing words that we defined. When I looked into Dewdrop, and that's so cool. It helps with produce. What I do when things come into my home, food comes into my home, I write on the containers, like the containers for the fruit and vegetables and whatever, I write Dewdrop, and I write thanks and love, because you've already experienced
on all the
those
containers. On all the containers.
Yeah, that's what I do. Let me look up diffuse here, because I want to give you exactly what, or excuse me, not diffuse, Dewdrop, because I want to give you exactly what that diffusing word is about. That was one of the things with the Ho'oponopono. They just had them as clearing tools, and they really didn't have any kind of definition for them. And so as we began to work with diffusing words, we also defined what are these diffusing words. So dewdrop is for diffusing negative emotions. Use dewdrop to quell fear, anxiety, anger, frustration, etc. And it can be used anywhere, anytime. Just focus on what you want to diffuse and say dewdrop. And so we just found that dewdrop made a difference. And it was so funny because the diffusing words came in shortly after I moved here to Tucson. My daughter had implored us to come to Tucson to nanny her children. And
that's what every grandparent made to do.
Yeah. And so when we came down here, the diffusing words had just barely come in. And I started to write the dewdrop and the love and the thanks on the containers in the fridge and stuff. And I made a comment to her one day, somewhat later, that I don't know what they're doing with strawberries and stuff that they changed, because all of a sudden they're lasting a lot longer. Here in Tucson, when you buy strawberries, you have a couple of days before they're overripe, and even in the fridge, right? Because it gets so hot in here. My daughter just looked at me, shook her head and laughed and said, "Mom, they didn't change anything. It's you." So
because the strawberries stay longer.
Yeah, because the strawberries were staying fresh for a week or more. And it was just astounding to me to see that. But that is why I thought there were changes that they had made in the way that they were dealing with strawberries, because I had changed what the strawberries were experiencing.
Oh my God.
And so that's really cool. So we have.
So how did you do that, Kat? So for example, if I buy fruits from a supermarket and I come and I wash them at home, then what do I write? I mean, I don't put fruits in a container, right? You just.
I usually write it on the containers. Like you have the drawer that you may put them in the fridge. You can write it on the drawer.
On the drawer.
You can, if you have them in a container. My berries are always in a little square container or something. And so I will write on that. And it's just astounding to see what happens. And whatever, if it's something that is easily perishable, I usually will write on it.
Okay. And even other things like rice and pasta that are not organic, you can just write on them just to.
Yeah, you can do that sort of thing. And it's all about diffusing all that negative energy that may be associated with it.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I definitely prefer organic, but we have tools that we use for helping to dissipate the negative energies of the pesticides and the genetically modified and all of those different things. And so.
But here, for example, in the Middle East, for example, we import so many fruits and vegetables. A lot of it is imported. So even if it's organic, I mean, there are some preservatives that, are used to bring it across. So, so this is wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yes. Oh, it's just awesome. I have made energy circles that specifically deal with the genetically modified and the pesticides and all of that stuff. In fact, I have energy circles that I set everything that is going to be eaten on and charge when it first comes in to the house. I have.
You do that, like you put circles on everything.
Yeah, I have. Hey, Joe. bring me the cards that we charge water with or foods with. Food in the cupboard. Yeah, I'll show you what we
You
do.
can do it at home.
Just bring them. Just bring them, love. And magically it appears. This,
Thank you, Joe.
yeah, this is a plate that I use. I just did a PDF and then I printed it out and laminated it. And yes, you can laminate your energy circles so that they stay in good shape. But this has switch words. It has numbers for dealing with that stuff. And then there's this, which that is the vibrational balancing magnetic neutralization card, which originally was developed to erase from water the vibrational balancing images that you had charged with. And to learn more about those, there's a link on Blue Iris. It's just VBI as in vibrational balancing images.blueiris.org. It has this thing about wanting to have shortcuts that are easy to remember to the articles.
And we can
Anyway,
print these out. We can print these out from Iris.
So I said this one needs 60 seconds.
Okay.
And so I just said all the fruit, all the vegetables, everything on these for a minimum of 60 seconds when it comes in from the house.
Okay.
And then you have that other one. And then I have one that's specifically dealing with dairy.
Oh, for
And
dairy.
so all of the cheeses, all of the milks, all of the eggs for some reason wanted to be included with the dairy.
Mhm.
And so you have just great way to work with these different things too. And it's almost passive that you can do these things.
Yeah.
I've seen people stick one of the pages on the shelf in the fridge. And then all their stuff just goes in the fridge on that. That's fine. You can do that.
Amazing.
Whatever.
Yeah,
And
this has been, I feel like I need a few more hours. This is just the beginning. It's incredible what energy can do.
it is.
It's just energy. So what would you like to say before we wrap up? Because unfortunately, I wish we could do this for 10 hours. But what would you say to people who really want to start doing this sort of work? Is there any guidance? Is it all available on your website? Do you do individual sessions? Do you do consultations? How do we get the help? How do we learn?
Okay. Well, we have the lists and all of the information is on the website. If you just go to blueiris.org and go to the community, you'll see a lot of articles available there. We also have subscriptions where you can get to much deeper information. And then we also have workshops. In fact, we've got one going on right now that it's called Blue Iris Gold.
Okay.
And Studi does it. Studi, who is one of the moderators at our Switchwords groups, she holds monthly, does a week-long workshop where she introduces all of these tools to you and helps people learn how to work with them. I also do consultations, and you can, most often the consultations are really about, here's my specific situation. This is something, can I get some tools to help me through where I am right now, what I'm dealing with? I need a job, I need healing, I need, whatever. And so we have that available. I do those consultations like that. But if you don't have the money for things, there's so much free information readily available. You can go to the Switchwords group at Facebook. On Facebook, every one of our groups lists off that it's a support group for Blue Iris Learning Center. There are a lot of Switchwords groups out there. I can't vouch for the quality of the information there, but you know that you're getting the right information if it says Blue Iris Learning Center Support Group.
Okay.
And so we have that. And simple, work with, whatever. It's just easy. If we tend to try to make things as difficult as we can.
Yes. I know.
I need a routine. How many times do I have to repeat it? How many times?
It's
Let it
just the
go.
energy, right? It's the intention behind it too. When you bring,
Yes.
it's just when it's easy, it's just easy to do, and you come with that easy energy to it, then it just,
Yeah, you just allow it. That's the
Allow it.
biggest key,
That's the
is
word.
just allow it, and trust in yourself. I have articles about SW is about switch words. There's SW FAQ, which is frequently asked questions about switch words. All of these are links at Blue Iris, and so you can just look up and find so much information there. And as I said, Studi just totally improves your learning ability with the way she takes you through. She takes you through from the very beginning, introduction, and lets you learn to create on your own. And it's just amazing. I sit in on all of her workshops. She does them on WhatsApp, and I'm there. So sometimes I will have things that I'll put in. In fact, what I gave you a little while ago with the that will probably come into the workshop she's currently doing in the next 24 hours as we introduce that as a switch word. How cool is that?
So cool. Kat, thank you so much for all the work that you're doing. Thank you for this conversation. And really, I learned so much, and I'm going to stalk you. We're going to talk more. This is amazing. This is a whole universe.
Switch words they are amazing. Which is a switch word? Amazing.
Amazing.
Let me look that up real quick, and then we'll get going here, because it is getting to that time, I know. Amazing, to be inspired, to create miraculous endeavors. How cool is that?
So cool. And I'm going to leave you with divine embrace, which is what you messaged me.
Yes, I love that. I use that as a sign off all the time. Divine embrace, divine work miracles, embrace, give and receive complete acceptance.
Thank you.
You're certainly welcome.
Coming on board with Rejuvenate and the Positivity Project was a no-brainer for me. My name is Monisha Sakrani, and I'm the co-founder of a New Delhi-based initiative called the Angels Network. I've had a working relationship with Sangeeta Singh for the last few years, and our visions have always been aligned. We have quietly and publicly contributed to each other's projects since we've known each other, and when she came up with Rejuvenate, my heart instantly said yes. Personally, I was on board in an instant, and then I realized that the Angels Network true commitment is to creating greater good and joy in the world, and hence we could come on board as a team too. I know without a shadow of a doubt that this event is going to open the minds, the hearts, and the doors of everyone who connects with it. Each speaker will connect with a different soul, and together, like a beautifully crafted jigsaw puzzle, we will be able to contribute and create a greater consciousness together. The planet and its people need a dose of positivity and awareness right now, more than ever, and I feel privileged to be able to be a part of this project. I look forward to the ripples and the waves of love and positivity it creates. Let's rejuvenate together.